do that. And we went on, we built two new apartment buildings. We went on to create a comprehensive program of renewal and restoration within that Beetham Heliard area. And coming out of that is where the then Prime Minister asked me to create a policy to sell the houses for $100 to a person who has been living in HDC tenanted communities for over 30 years. Who would have benefited? Who would have benefited? The residents of Har Place in Laventille, Shafford Court in Laventille, Dorado Street, St. Joseph Road, Mango Rose, St. Paul Street, Spree Simon, and on and on. They are the people who would benefit. Now I asked the Prime Minister to go and ask them that. I remember, there are so many things that I can talk about, but I want to make reference to some homes in St. Joseph Road, right there in Laventille. They had flooded, I think it was in September of 2010. And the ground floor will flood every time it rains. Flood to the point, not like the ark, where people ain't got dead. It flood right up literally to the roof. And it happened all the time. And I remember calling the then Minister of Housing and asking about that. And he called the Prime Minister, and she immediately said, move the 20 families. So I want the Prime Minister to go and ask the people of St. Joseph Road. Again, I remember walking up Laventille with the then Prime Minister coming up beside Bissessa. She had us walking up Laventille as if we were in the Station of the Cross. She shook every hand. She knocked on every door. Coming out of that, we then went about and repaired over 12,000 units across the HTC tenanted community. I want the Prime Minister to go and ask them what Kamla Bissessa did for black people. But she's not about that. What is the point in asking her what she has done? Tonight I want the Honourable Prime Minister, I want him to, with respect to that question, what Kamla did for black people. He said he's a proud black man. So tonight, this proud black woman is asking the proud black man, what have you done for me lately? What have you done for me lately? What have you done? Yeah. The proud black woman asking proud black. I guarantee the next election will not be about the disaster of health care under Rowley and Yalcin, or the collapse of the education system under Rowley and Garcia, or the joblessness of our trained professionals. We heard Mr. Lendor tonight. He's one. Yesterday, Espinay say they are selling Paria. Today, can say no, as if it is bacon shark. I say, Father, forgive them. They know not what they do. This we don't know what they're about. What are they doing with our assets? But the next election will be about the abandonment of the people by the PNM. Those who the PNM cannot now recognize in the dark. What has been advanced under this government is a composite of a stereotypical young man who, because of his race, was born a crime. You were born a crime, young man, according to the PNM. So he's destined to be a criminal, a gangster and a pest. The policy position is to offer these youths jail instead of jobs. Crime is not some terminal moral defect of individuals or some ineradicable racial fate. And therefore, crime has nothing to do with skin. Crime has to do with sin. We have to tell your Prime Minister that. It has nothing to do with skin. Listen, this is not about glorifying or excusing criminality. It is about finding the root cause of this scourge. There are no winners, not the perpetrator, not the victims, not the law-abiding citizens, hiding behind higher barricades. Brian Stevenson, a death row lawyer, an advocate for criminal justice reform, says, the opposite of poverty is justice. The opposite of poverty is justice. The statement somehow clarifies the problem we face and the solution we need. It confronts a mistaken assumption that the opposite of poverty is wealth and points to a higher truth. Part of what Stevenson is trying to do here is clarifying the meaning of poverty and justice. Poverty is not just the simple absence of wealth. Poverty is the social condition of being disfavored. It is the condition where you feel you don't even have a friend in Jesus. Since poverty tends to be geographically concentrated, it has less to do with who you are than where you live. Impoverished communities lack access, and even the hope of access. People in impoverished communities do without, and has enormous consequences for their opportunities in life. I was told anecdotally that Dr. Eric Williams, at a meeting one evening, was addressing the residents of John Laventille. And he said, I was told not to come to John because John have plenty bad John. But now that I'm in John, I ain't seen no bad John. All I've seen is poor Johns. So he understood the issue. He understood what now confronts us. You see, while the government ridicules David, you all remember David, who came on our platform in Brazil? I meet Davids everywhere, who voted for the PNM in 2015, campaigned for them in 2015, hoping for an opportunity. Last week, Wednesday, I met a man, Mr. Lal and his wife, 2 children in Tractor Pool Road in Wallafield. Mr. Lal told me, had it not been for the same David, he would not have gotten a job. Because David got a job, he pulled in Mr. Lal. Isn't it ironic? The humble David, vilified by his government, who him and his mother campaigned for Maxi Coffee to get into office. It matters to me that Lal has a job and an opportunity in life, even if he's not my son. I've met 19-year-old Akila. These are real people. At 19, she has been a security guard for 2 years. So she started when she was 17. Every month when she gets her salary, she buys 2 bricks and some galvanized. 19. That is what she's doing. She should be in school. She should be out dancing on a Friday night, but she's there watching somebody else's property. Young Bubbles, who died on the night I gave him a mattress after the flood. I never know Bubbles was old enough to have children, but I subsequently met his wife and the 5 children. The boys told me, well, now I'm getting to know who Bubbles was. He laid tiles for a living, and Bubbles also went to the PTA meeting. The teenage son said Bubbles was the only father who turned up. These are real people, and these are real people whose lives are affected by government's policy or lack of policy. I met Charmin Hazel. She said, Miss Jolene, I went to the bank to change the social assistance check, and when I come out with the money, a bandit catch me, and he cut me here, he cut me there. Miss Jolene, he cut me there, he cut me there. These are real people with real issues that the government is averting their eyes to. What do I tell these people when I meet them? I tell them that life is sacred. They have to be accountable for their action. I tell the young men like our friend here from Wharf Trace, pull up all your pants, all your Solomon, stop making all them children with no respondo and don't act responsibly. I said, you must dream about going into Port of Spain. And I'm saying New York, because phase 1 of La Hoqueta can't go into phase 2 or phase 3. So all I can promise them is, let's go into Port of Spain. Upper Duncan Street can't go into Lower Duncan Street. And that is what the leader of the opposition was talking about. You see, I see these people, whether it is dark or it's not dark. I recognize them, even if they are not my neighbors. Tonight I appeal to every citizen in Trinidad and Tobago. We are better than this, because there is nothing more dangerous than to build a society where we have a large segment of people in that society who feel they have no stake in it, who feel that they have nothing to lose. People who have stake in their society protect that society. But when they don't have it, they unconsciously want to destroy it. Reverend Jesse Jackson, and more recently, Professor Deosaran reflected on this issue as a moral problem, a deficit of conscience, of values, of connectedness. So as a moral problem, it requires a moral solution. In particular, we must remember, whatever you do for the least of us, whatever you do for the least of the brothers and sisters, you do for Jesus. UNC brothers and sisters, don't worry. I know you're very worried, but coming just after Mr. Ford and myself is the leader of the opposition. She has, as usual, a message of hope. She has, as usual, a message of peace and security. So I tell you, don't worry, because one day, very soon, we shall be able to sing just like the great Mahalia Jackson did in 1963 with that March on Washington. How I got over, how I got over. My soul looked back and wonder how I got over. I thank you, UNC. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the leading political platform, the Monday Night Forum. Please welcome senior instructor statistician Jan Ford to the big platform in Tunapuna.
Greetings to our political leader, Mrs. Kamla Prasad Bisesa. Greetings to one and all. Tunapuna is very close to my heart. I was born on Freeland Street. I attended the Tunapuna AC and Tunapuna government schools. I also attended what is now known as the DORADO East Secondary School, right next door there. Yes, Blue Thunder. So when I am in Tunapuna, I'm home. I was talking to a young lady from the area, and given my interest, I inquired about one Mr. Esmond Ford. You all know him? Now, I met the gentleman during the general elections in 2015. My aunt, who lives on Henry Road, Tunapuna, said we are related, but don't hold that against me. The young lady responded, right now he in hiding, and she waiting for him to come back in front of her door. Now, I want to give the gentleman the benefit of the doubt. She probably looking for him in the wrong place. But it sounds like a familiar story, because by now everyone realizes that PNM takes your vote, but they don't help anyone. At least they don't help the people who put them in power. You all saw the travel advisory, where the Americans were telling their people where not to go in Trinidad. Now I currently live in Arima. I grew up in Maloney, and for many years I taught in the primary schools in Maloney and Santa Rosa. So I'm familiar with the issues that plague our communities on the corridor. I am also a statistician, and I once did a research entitled An Investigation of Homicide Trends and Years of Potential Life Loss Due to Homicide in Trinidad and Tobago. Now, from 2001 to 2008, it was estimated that 95,162.5 years of potential lives were lost due to homicide, and a significant amount was lost in the very areas identified in the advisory. So you really cannot argue with the people and their advisory. However, there's a pattern. It seems that everywhere the PNM was given the responsibility to look after the affairs of the people, the social ills that plague our society are magnified. These are the graphs I want to see from Dr. Rowley, because it's about minding our business. I want to see voting patterns versus crime. I want to see voting pattern versus poverty. And I want to see voting patterns versus unemployment. You all think we'll ever see those graphs? Undeniably, there's a significant association. All, if not most, of the hotspots are in PNM-controlled constituency or polling divisions. It's like you have to drive in the area with a fire truck. I want to lay something at the doorsteps of the PNM, particularly this PNM government, because it has been the vilest, most callous, and uncaring incarnation of the PNM that we have ever seen. Never before we have seen a government so far removed from the people who put them in power. It is the PNM's neglect of the social issues that affects their supporters that has provided the perfect environment for the development of these so-called hotspots in PNM constituencies. Now, Tunapuna, when your neighbor house on fire, wet your own. The American did not call your name. You are not labeled yet a hotspot. This habit some of you have of voting for the PNM, stop it. They only want your vote. They're not interested in supporting the people who support them. They have no plans to take care of the bread and butter needs. That is the needs that affect the individual. They think they could mama guide the community with a box train. As elections draw near, they will come to you, but anything after 3 years of neglect is mama guy. Vote for the United National Congress. From baby grant to laptop, the UNC has a better track record of taking care of people. PNM supporters all along the corridor are waking up. From 1956 to now, even after the cries of our parents and grandparents were heard in the 70s, the PNM supporters still yearn for leadership that will look beyond selfish desires and assist them in solving the problems in their community. There's a movement flowing out of Tunapuna, flowing all along the corridor, where the PNM will receive the worst backlash ever. A backlash befitting the worst betrayal of a people ever. When elections are called, sooner rather than later, we will return Trinidad and Tobago back to the people-centered governance and back into the caring arms of our political leader, Mrs. Kamla Persad-Visesa. Long live the United National Congress, and long live our political leader. I thank you.
A pleasant good night to all present, and a pleasant good night to the political leader, Mrs. Kamla Persad-Visesa, and all protocols observed. My name is Kavita Hari Persad, a practicing attorney and a resident of the Tunapuna constituency. Tonight, I have the honor and privilege of introducing a person who is very special to everyone gathered in this hall. A very strong woman who by her accomplishments has paved the way for people like me to serve the people of this country. She is the only leader we can say ever had the young people of the nation at heart. The only leader who has always acted while thinking about the future of Trinidad and Tobago. We have all been neglected by this Keith Rowley administration. Citizens have been appealing for basic necessities with no response from this incompetent administration. I'm seeing so much hardship and suffering. I'm seeing a government that is refusing to help the people of Trinidad and Tobago. They have broken every promise and they continue to make excuses. But the leader I am about to introduce does not make any excuse. She gets the job done. She works hard to ensure that our future is secure. She has set about making sure the people of this country, especially young people like myself, have hope for the future and opportunities to prosper. I have the greatest honor to introduce to you our former and first Prime Minister and our next Prime Minister in waiting, the political leader of the United National Congress, our beloved, the Honorable Mrs. Kamla Persad-Visesa.
Just can't live without you. Don't know where. Ooh. Now many men will try to tell you back. Love that I have is you.
Thank you all very much. Thank you. Give it up for young Kavita, please. Thank you for your introduction. Members of the UNC family, I want to say good evening to you here in Tunapuna. I want to say good evening to Trinidad and Tobago. But you know, it's very hard to say that. When it is today, our murder toll is 100 persons. When it is a 71-year-old man can be gunned down in front of a mall on a Sunday afternoon, a mall filled with families, then it is a very difficult thing to say good evening. But you know, nevertheless, we can still celebrate as a people. And I ask you to join with me as we congratulate Team TNT for their performance in this Special Olympics right now. I see many distinguished people here this evening, every one of you. So I acknowledge everyone. All protocols observed to save us time. But I want to hail out. Tunapuna, are you in the house? La Hocata Talparo, are you in the house? And San Fernando West, making sure you know they're in the house. And from everywhere you have come, welcome, welcome. As we are back in Tunapuna tonight. You know, on Saturday, as Chairman Peter Kanhai told you, we opened our first East-West Corridor People Center. And I just want to thank the persons who made that possible. The team led by Peter Kanhai and others. Can we thank them very much? It is their hard work. Chairman of the Tunapuna constituency and the executive Hamlin Jalal and that team, and of course former MP for Tunapuna, the one and only Mervyn Assam. So our plan is for the center, the People's Center in Tunapuna, to serve as a hub of community development. All UNC family members who have stepped up, who have joined to make it possible, to make it available as that People Center, to allow for you and others to access free health services there, free legal advice, free resume, CV writing, job advice, and much, much more. And so tonight I am very happy to announce our first free legal clinic at the Tunapuna UNC Center will be on Saturday, 23rd March. So our lawyers will be there. You don't have to pay them. If you need free legal advice, from 11 a.m. Saturday, 23rd March, all are invited. Now, the best part of this is that Tunapuna Center is just the first of many others that will open along this corridor as we work on the East-West Corridor movement. The next center will be open in the constituency of St. Joseph in Aranguez, and we will welcome you there as we offer free services. You know, our great party has always put people in front, put people at the center. Of course, we put God in front, we walk behind, but we are people-centered. We put people at the center of our plans and our policies. We listen and then we lead. So I'm calling upon everyone. Now is not the time to stand down. Now is not the time to play the wilting violet and to stay in the background. Now is the time to step up, stand up, claim your space. And let us work together. Let us get TNT working again. Let us get Tunapuna working again. And let us get all of TNT working again. I know you like stories. So tonight I want to spend a little time to tell you a tale of two parties. One that is people-centered, that is your great party, the UNC, and the other party, which is self-centered, the PNM. You know, they try to claim that the UNC and the partnership neglected the corridor. That's another of their lies, as they try to deceive the population. You know, many know, we worked along the corridor as we worked all across Trinidad and Tobago to deliver to all of the people of our land. Let me remind you, they have spent the same or more money in 3 years than we spent, but they cannot show you one project. I remember the late deceased Mr. Manning standing in the Parliament asking about then Housing Minister Keith Rowley, and he said, where the money gone? You remember that? Today I want to ask the Keith Rowley government, where the money gone? You cannot show us a project. You cannot show us any delivery because you are self-centered, and I'll demonstrate that tonight. I want to tell you a story of a company, and the name of that company is Zaman Enterprises. I'll come back to that. So let me remind you and others of some work that we did along the corridor as we did elsewhere. I have over 100 projects here, but there are more, so I'll go very fast. So as I call them, you talk with me and speak back to me. The Coastat campus in Grandy, done by the partnership. The new Arima Hospital, still under construction. We completed the Churchill-Roosevelt Highway extension. The new Arima Police Station, the Arima ECCE, Jacob Hill ECCE, Aruka Pine Haven ECCE. You want to hear more? Valencia Bypass Road, new walkover Oropoon, new walkover Maloney, St. Barbara's Spiritual Shelter Baptist Primary School, the first ever Baptist school in Trinidad and Tobago. The El Dorado Nursing Academy, very close here, to train our young people to take up the jobs at the Children's Hospital. That hospital would have created over 2,000 new jobs. We were training the young people to take up those jobs. The Tunapuna Promenade, the upgraded Tunapuna Market, the National Tennis Complex done by your partnership government. But you know, the PNM tries to change names, but they cannot hide their DNA. The National Tennis Complex we built, they are now calling it the National Racket Center. That's their name. The Churchill-Roosevelt Uriah Butler Highway interchange, Grand Bazaar. Completion of the Aranguez overpass. The National Oncology Center. You will not believe how many people in our country suffer from cancer. And the great job of the PNM was to stop the work of that National Oncology Center. I promise you, when you put us back into office, we will complete the National Oncology Center. On number 19 of 100, so I may stop along the way, the Mango Rose Homework Center, upgrade of the police station at Blanchishes, the Diego Martin Highway Extension, the Diego Martin Technology Center, the Diego Martin Health Facility, the Chagamars Boardwalk Recreation Facility, new Dabadi Bridge, new bridge B114 on the Churchill-Roosevelt Highway, creation of 3 lanes out of Port of Spain, building a 3rd lane at the bridge at Sealots, construction of the roundabout at the Lockjack School of Business. I can go on. The St. Joseph River Bridge, Valencia Stretch, upgrades to the Hollis Main for better water supplies, water projects to expand the delivery of water to all. And we go on. I will stop there for tonight because I want to share. These are just some of the projects. Over 100 schools, police stations, yes? Health centers, health facilities, in the education sector, in the health sector, in infrastructure development. None, but no government can surpass what we did in the government I led 2010 to 2015. Don't forget the Freeman Road Community Center rebuilt, the Tunapuna Community Center rebuilt, the Tunapuna Government School rebuilt. These are just but some of the projects. So do not let them push that divisive talk, division talk. The time for division is done. Now, today, to take our country forward, now is the time for unity. We must unite together to take us forward. And so, into their 4 years in office, they have nothing to show. So they try to paint us in a bad light. But we will not be deterred. Mr. Ayers, we will not give up. We shall remain focused and people-centered. We have always been engaged in people-centered development. We have worked to build communities across Trinidad and Tobago. And in our next term in office, this I promise you, this Kamala promises you, this the UNC promises you, we will continue the benefits we started for all the people of Trinidad and Tobago. You know, I said the tale of 2 parties. That was our party, caring and delivery oriented. Performance beats the old talk every time and any time. But you know, tonight I'm vexed, I'm angry, and I'm upset. The truth is I am angry because whilst people in our country are suffering, we heard Lendor tell us earlier of the loss of jobs. We heard Ian Ford telling us about the crime situation linked to any time the PNM is in office. People don't have food, they've lost their jobs, they can't pay bills. Crime across the land. I know the commissioner is doing the best he can, but listen, with all resources, you can't do it, you know. I'm told they don't even have food to feed the dogs who work with the police service. So yes, Commissioner Gary Griffith, great job. He worked with us. I know he's a great man and can do well, but he must have the resources and the government must have the will. You cannot put all the burden on Commissioner of Police. So listen, all of this is happening. And those in the government are doing all they can to fleece the taxpayers of our country before they are voted out of office because they know the writing is on the wall. They will be voted out of office. They are desperate to grab all they can before they are booted out of office. And I'll show you how. You know, they talk about corruption, UNC and partnership, corrupt and thief. Well, you will never find a bigger set of thief and more corruption than you find when the PNM is in office. Tonight, I want to share with you what is taking place in the highest offices of our country. They're supposed to act in your interest, in the interest of the people. Instead, they are seeking their own self-interest. Last week, in piloting the company's amendment bill in the parliament, AG Faris Al-Rawi said, and I'm quoting him, "I love companies. I love company law. Quite frankly, he said, I enjoy corporate law. I will tell you tonight why the AG loves company law so much. This is the same man who was telling the country that it is companies that are used by people to hide their wealth and to hide their wrongdoings. Let me show you this tonight. I have in my possession a bundle of documents. A very big bundle, by the way, and I think Dr. Rowley needs to plug the leak in his cabinet, because there are those in his own cabinet who are sharing with us cabinet documents of the wrongdoing that is taking place. I have a whole, this looks like a court brief, by the way, because I have all the supporting documents in evidence. I don't speak without evidence. I do not speak lightly. And so tonight I will share with you what is taking place. There is a company registered in the company's registry, and I have all the documents here, and the name of it is Zaman Enterprises Limited. This company only has 2 shareholders, and each shareholder has 1 share, and the share is valued at $1. So a $2 company in shares. The entire share capital is $2. Let me tell you something now. Do you know who are the owners, the shareholders? You will find out tonight. In 2006, this company bought a property known as number 3 Alexander Street, Sinclair. I have the deed in my bundle of documents. I have the deed for the property in 2006 when they bought it. The price the company paid for that property at number 3 Alexander Street was $2.5 million. I have a document, another one, which is captioned Cabinet Minute number 290 of 2019, this year. Any Minister of Cabinet is free to come forward and challenge the veracity, truth of what I'm saying to do. Come and tell us this Cabinet note I'm holding, 290 of 2019, is not true, is not real. I challenge any one of them. And I also challenge the Prime Minister to find out where the leak is coming from. This cabinet have so many leaks now. And why would they do this? Because they too are fed up. Some of them are fed up and very disturbed at what is taking place. You remember to say there's something is rotten in the state of Denmark, and this is coming from the highest level. So here we are, 290, 2019 cabinet minute. Minute means a confirmed document. I want to thank the public-spirited citizen who realized the extent of the crookedness that was going on and decided to send this document to our offices because they could no longer stomach the stench coming from the corridors of power. Thank you very much for giving us this information. According to the documents I'm holding, the cabinet led by the Prime Minister, they agreed to rent, to lease this property, number 3 Alexander Street, Sinclair, for the price of $644,000 per month. That is $575,000 plus VAT, which takes it to $644,000 in 1 month. More than $500 million in 1 month to pay rent. And you want to know where the money gone? Here's where it's going. Here's where part of it is going. This property I told you, with the deed that I have here from the lands registry, the company bought it for $2.5 million in 2006. Now in 2019, 2.5 million, understand? They are going to be getting, for the lease, which is 3 years, for 3 years, they're going to be collecting $23,184,000. You want to know where the corruption is? Keep listening, stay tuned. Do you want to know who these people are? Do you want to know who they are? I have in my possession the last annual return of the company Zaman Enterprises Limited. You know who are the two shareholders? I can't believe it. I hope people come and tell me it's not true. But from the company documents in the company's registry, the two shareholders are Faris Alwari and his wife Mona Nahus. Right here. Have it here. And that return was filed on 27th April 2018, showing the two shareholders, man and wife. And do you know who are the directors? The directors are the man, his wife, and his son, Abraham Alwari. This is a family enterprise. Directors and the two shareholders. I don't like to speak of people's children, you know. But then, remember, this man disowned his own children. So I don't know Abraham Alwari, who is listed in these company documents. If he will disown him as his son, we shall wait and see. So the Attorney General, his wife, with their two ordinary shares worth $2, will, by this transaction, they will go laughing all the way to the bank. $23 million taxpayers' dollars. And you see why the AG says he loves companies? You see why? This is the same Faris Alwari who last week in the parliament was telling the country that it is private companies that are used to hide wealth. And he's making this change in the law, so we must know who are the beneficial owners of these companies. He loves to tell us, as he did in the parliament last sitting, he loves to tell us about Al Capone, but he doesn't want to tell us about Alwari. So let me tell you how this transaction took place. How it is story, how it unfolds. According to the documents again, the cabinet note was taken to cabinet for lease of this property. That was dated 12th February 2019. So that's how the cabinet operates. You take a note for cabinet to consider a matter and to make a decision to rent this property. 12th February 2019. When the country was busy gearing up for carnival, they were having their own carnival in the cabinet. That note was considered and agreed to the cabinet, by the cabinet, on the 14th February 2019. 2 days later. You talk about done deal? That was a done deal. When the note was taken to cabinet, only the first page of the annual return was annexed to the note. So the cabinet saw who were the directors. And at that time, the directors, because Faris had removed himself, was the son and the wife. But they did not put the other piece of the annual return, which shows the shareholders. Look, I caused a search to be done in the company's registry up to today, and there is no change of ownership of the share held by Faris. So what does it mean? Mona Nahus, Abraham Alwari, wife and son of the AG, are the directors at the time this decision was taken, but the shareholders on record were then, when the cabinet was being asked to rent this property, AG and wife, one share each, 50%, 50%. The cabinet was never shown from the documents I have who were the owners, the shareholders. So the AG now has some questions to answer again. He must tell the country, why was the cabinet who was making decision to rent this property for $23 million over 3 years, why were they not told that the building belonged to him and his wife? Why were they not told? You know, this is a man, as I say, preaching transparency and accountability in Parliament last week. And you know, before this matter came to the cabinet, research shows, even before he changed himself as a director 18th November, yes, before the decision, even before this matter was being considered by the Ministry of Public Administration, August last year. At that time, according to records, he was still a director. He was still a shareholder. So whilst he was director, shareholder, along with his wife and son, negotiations are going on with the government. By letter dated 15th October 2018, the father-in-law gets into the fray. A fellow named Nazim Nahus, father-in-law of the AG. And he was writing the permanent secretary of Public Admin Ministry. Let me just read what he said. This is Faris's father-in-law telling the ministry, I quote, "We are pleased to accept the state's offer to lease the captioned A-class commercial building at the rate of $600,000 per month." Please. So the state was offering the lease property owned by AG and his wife, and the father-in-law is writing to tell the government he was pleased. Listen, fellas, he has a right to be pleased. Any one of us here will be very pleased. This is over $500,000 for 1 month. We will never see that in a lifetime. The majority of people in this country can't even collect a salary when the month comes, the amount of job losses there have been. So this man is so pleased. Well, good luck to him. At this time, who is the legal advisor to the government? Who is the legal advisor to the cabinet and to the government? It's the same man who is the joint owner of this property. You think things could get any better than that for some people? You see why he loves company law and corporate law? You just shift a name here and shift a name there. I call on the AG to tell me who is the beneficial owner of this property at 3 Alexandra Street, St. Clair. All the records are pointing to him and to the wife. So, all this time, this man, legal advisor to the government, director and shareholder of a company, it gets better for them, you know, in the negotiations. While negotiations are going on, before the cabinet takes the decision, he goes and removes himself as a director, as I told you, and he leaves the wife and the son. You see why he loves companies? You see why he loves them? You just shift a name. Who is the beneficial owner? I ask that again. And so, I want him to tell this country why he removed himself as a director of the company 8th November 2018. Yes? Now, before November, remember I told you they were in negotiations. Why was this done days before his father-in-law accepted a state offer to rent the property for millions of dollars? Was the AG involved or aware of these discussions that the company he and his wife owned was having a negotiation with the government, of which he's AG and he's the absolute chief legal advisor? Did he advise and participate? All the documents do not show at any point in time that when the cabinet considered this matter, that the AG recused himself from the discussions. No record whatsoever. And so we asked, what does he have to hide? Why was the cabinet not told he was a shareholder of the company that was going to benefit from this $23 million contract lease? And this is not a 1% or 5%, you know. That's not what he owned, you know. According to the online search conducted today, as I told you, he is a 50% owner of this company. So that $23 million, 50% is for him, and 50% is for the wife. Boy, I wish I had a contract like that, you know. I'm sure you all wish you had it too, so your entire family would benefit. Mother, father, and son, and the father-in-law somewhere in the background. What was the role of the office of the AG in providing advice to the ministry in this transaction? Did he make full and frank disclosure of the totality of his interest to the cabinet? Let me make it very clear, I really would not want this to be true. I told you I vex, I damn vex. Because this is at the highest levels, something that is really eating away at the heart of the ordinary man and woman in this country. I do not want to believe this level of misconduct lies at the hands and feet of the AG of this country. I do not want to believe that the AG is capable of such duplicity and deception. But you know what? I am reminded of Faris Gate. Do you remember the bacchanal with children with high-powered guns? Do you remember the report which was done and then proven to be a lie and a cover-up, a failed cover-up with respect to the complicity of a senior government minister? So you know what, like you, I don't trust this government. I don't trust this government. And above all, I do not trust Faris Al-Rawi. I ask him to come clean. I want to remind the AG and you here and the government of Section 29 of the Integrity in Public Life Act. And I quote, for the purpose of this act, a conflict of interest is deemed to arise if a person in public life or any person exercising a public function were to make or participate in the making of a decision in the execution of his office and at the same time knows or ought reasonably to have known that in making of the decision there is an opportunity either directly or indirectly to further his private interests or that of a member of his family or any other person. I remind him, and when there is a possible conflict of interest, the act says that person shall disclose his interest in accordance with prescribed procedures and disqualify himself from any decision-making process. So, not only is the AG heavily conflicted, but I believe that the entire cabinet which approved this transaction would be guilty if they knew and they chose to facilitate this decision. Tonight I call on all cabinet ministers present at those meetings in the cabinet when this matter was discussed to state whether they were aware of this potential conflict of interest when they approved the transaction. I want to ask them, are you innocent or are you guilty? And I want to ask you, did Faris disqualify himself at all points in the decision-making process, and did he so inform and advise you as members of the cabinet? Further, I call upon the Commissioner of Police to launch an immediate investigation into this matter. For breaches of the Prevention of Corruption Act and misbehavior in public office. And of course, our lawyers shall also bring this matter to the attention of the Integrity Commission. I don't, people told me call on the Prime Minister to fire Faris. Well, you know that, and on God's face, you're not going to see. So I'm not going to call on the Prime Minister because Prime Minister knew or ought to have known of this matter, and if he did not, he should call in Faris and find out the truth of the matter and apprise himself of the situation. So they covered up Faris and the Faris Gate and the children and so on. I'm going to send this to the Commissioner of Police, and our lawyers will send it to the Integrity Commission for investigation. Now, we have a lot more things to speak about. I want to talk about the Paria fuel scandal. This government operates by VAPs. So Espinay say they're going to sell Paria and sell the Petrotrin, whatever it's now called, they're going to sell it. And today I see a fellow named Frankie smiling all over the place, puts out a press release. He said, no, we're not going to sell it. So one day they sell it, in the left hand doesn't know what the right hand is doing. They have now retracted. They put big advertisements, And now Mr. Frankie is saying, no, it's not going to be sold. But you know what? We knew this is a ploy and a plot and a conspiracy to sell what belongs to the people of Trinidad and Tobago. Government by VAPs. And therefore tonight I call on this wicked, incompetent, useless government. And to tell them this, I call on the Prime Minister to halt any sale of the refinery and Paria fuel trading until after the general election is held. Do not give away our nation's patrimony. Do not sell at basement bargain prices in a fire sale. Let the people, all the people decide, and let us make that an election item for the 2020 elections. Let the people decide. I promise you that my government, should you put us back in office, we will not sell the assets of the people of Trinidad and Tobago. We will not. So you decide. Espene cannot decide for us. Espene should not decide for us. And it is clear that I had to rein him back because he went out there advertising. And who when I read the ad, who is it? Scotiabank now given the job to sell this thing? How did they recruit Scotiabank? The only connection I know with Scotiabank is some people call it young and young and young. You understand? You understand what's going on? You understand what is happening in this country? So I say stop any sale of that refinery and let the people decide in respect to next election. So finally, I had some really nice plans to share with you, but I did want to bring you up to speed with what was happening with Zamen, with the highest officers, with the AG and so on. So let me just share, finally, a few plans. We shared some with you already. What are plans, more plans to get TNT working again with respect to jobs? It is very clear that this government has not created a single new job. It is very clear, the Prime Minister admitted himself that they had lost 20,000 jobs, which we had created and more. It is very clear it is more than 20,000 jobs that have been lost. I say it's closer to about 50,000 jobs lost them. And as you know, we created over 55,000 jobs. And you see, we have the plans. We can do that and better. And for you here tonight, especially along the corridor, especially in Tunupuna, let me share with you some more of our plans for the economic transformation of our country and to create jobs, sustainable jobs. You see, we believe the time has come to end the boom and bust cycles which have taken us over decades of failed P&M policies. They put all the eggs in the one basket of the energy sector. When the price goes up, great. When the price drops, we are like boom and bust, boom and bust. We have to stop that vicious cycle. We have to change the way we approach economic growth and national development. We don't believe in the old P&M ideas of turnaround. And so, to maximize the full potential of our people and nation, we have to embrace the economic challenges of the 21st century. We believe what we need is not turnaround. We need economic transformation so we can prepare the jobs for the people of our land. And this I tell you, when you put us back in government, we will immediately implement our national economic transformation plan. Diversification is the heart of this plan. We will encourage strategic investments in niche non-energy sectors where we have strong competitive advantage, market opportunity, and growth potential. And so we have developed 12 key strategic prosperity engines spread across both TNT, Trinidad and Tobago. These prosperity engines will mobilize and engage private sector locally and internationally. They will have large positive multiplier effects in kickstarting economic recovery, fostering growth, and supporting diversification. These prosperity engines will spur a dynamic, sustainable, technological, resourceful economy, which will allow you, the people of our land, to prosper and fulfill their potential. We consider the East-West corridor to be instrumental in being the conduit for economic transformation. 3 of these prosperity engines, I've told you, we have developed 12 thus far. Time will allow me on another night, stay tuned, to tell you about the others. But tonight, I'll deal with 3 which are based along the East-West corridor. 1, the Tamana Solar Tech Renewable Energy Park. 2, the East-West Biotechnology Manufacturing Corridor. I spoke about that before. And 3, the Piarco Aircraft Maintenance, Repair and Operations Hub. These 3 prosperity drivers will create the thousands of jobs together with other projects that we need. So let's talk about the Tamana Solar Tech Renewable Resource. Basically, you know what we are talking about? The sun. talk about solar, renewable energy, the sun. You know, our great party, our symbol is the rising sun. And indeed, all energy and all source of life comes from the sun. We don't use it. We have free sunlight almost every day of the year, and even when there are clouds and it's raining, that sunlight can still help us to create energy. Solar power has surged to become the cheapest and fastest growing source of energy, electricity on the planet. And with this, we'll invite investors to establish a solar tech park within the Tamana Intech Park. This will develop energy efficient modular solutions which can be retrofitted to existing buildings or integrated into new construction projects and used in several other areas, marine, communications, and transport. Tamana Solar Tech will access and supply solar technologies through licensing and supply agreements and customize the product to provide specialist and turnkey energy solutions to communities here, but also within the entire Caribbean region. So if oil done and gas done, the sunlight is not going to be done anywhere in the near future and in the lifetimes of many of us. And investors will be invited, but they will fully finance their own solar projects at the Tamana Park. That's how business should be. Government shouldn't be trying to do everything. Imagine government tries to run a seafood development board. The government tries to run everything, and then what do? Run it to the ground. So what we will do is that the investors will finance the project, but what the government will do is to provide all the necessary support to fast-track implementation of these plans, as well as tax incentives. You see that man, Mervyn Hassan? In the last administration, he was responsible for getting done for us so many trading agreements across the world. He understands trade and investment very well. He will help us in that. Unlike the present Minister of Trade, her biggest project is a bubblegum factory. Come to tell the Parliament, a bubblegum factory. I am talking to you about renewable energy, using the sun to harness power, energy, electricity, to power Trinidad and Tobago and the rest of the Caribbean and elsewhere, because that blessed sun shines on us every day. The second project I mentioned is the East-West Biotechnology Manufacturing Corridor. Again, we invite investors, local, international, to set up a biotechnology manufacturing zone along the corridor. This manufacturing corridor will attract entrepreneurs and firms, local and international, and what they will be required to do is to create a cluster of industrial applications in agro, in health, in wellness, and industrial and environmental biotechnology. I heard our chairman of the constituency, Hamlin, speaking about agriculture and the lack of vision on the part of the present government. But this is a way we will go along the corridor, a biotechnology manufacturing zone, again creating jobs, sustainable jobs. Such areas in the cluster of industrial applications will include therapeutic and nutraceutical plants, exotic livestock development, integrated aquaculture systems, biopesticides, crop genetic improvement, Asian medicine, remember the economy, the silver economy, Asian medicine, generics, biosimilars, bioinformatics, and environmental conservation. If you don't understand all those words, talk to your children. Let them find the laptops that we gave them and let them Google all these words. These are the buzzwords of this digital age, and this is where we must go to position Trinidad and Tobago at the forefront and to train our children, our young ones, not so young ones, to be able to work in the digital age. Again, investors will fully finance, because you'll ask me, the PNM has drained the treasury. By the time we get back into office, it will be empty. Where will the money come from? Investors will fully finance. The role of government will be to act as facilitator to implement these projects. And finally, when I say finally, I mean for tonight, we have a lot more plans to share with you. The Aircraft Maintenance, Repair and Operations Hub at Piarco, MRO, maintenance, repair, and operations. Again, we invite investors to build and manage an aircraft maintenance, repair, and operations hub in the Aeropark at Piarco International Airport. One of the major challenges faced by air transport in TNT and the Caribbean is the lack of major aircraft maintenance facility, so airlines have to conduct their repairs and maintenance overseas. TNT could serve as an aviation center for the wider Caribbean with significant experience in airport administration, air traffic management, aircraft inspection, and air navigation services. We will leverage these strengths to build a comprehensive aircraft MRO facility to provide heavy maintenance, line maintenance, and aircraft painting and repairs and so on. Again, invite investors. They will have to finance their project, and government will provide the necessary support to fast track. So these projects are not about Sandals, you know. With Sandals, we were giving them the land. With Sandals, they were going to build the facility, and all Sandals was coming to do was put the name Sandals on the face of it, but all the taxpayers' dollars would have been spent. Yes, on the land, on the actual buildings and so on, and infrastructure. No, investors will finance, and government, once again, will provide necessary support to facilitate. How are we sounding? Good? Great, great, great. And so, I've shared with you some other fiscal measures in terms of how we can make these things happen. Tonight I will not repeat those, or I have them here, but I will tell you something. We will open the airport at Camden when we get back into office. We will open it. So Trinidad and Tobago will not have one airport, will not have two airports, we'll have 3 airports. We can use that there to help with the domestic internal flights, Trinidad to Tobago. Everybody don't have to drive to Piarco. It will help to ease the traffic congestion. So you could go down to Camden Airstrip where it's already there, and we will make a pathway for students and graduates of the aviation training programs to be apprentices and to gain the skills to work at that Piarco MRO hub that I spoke about. Fazal, thank you, from cotton cane to flying planes. I close tonight, the way forward, in Tunapuna. In every constituency, we need to take back our country. We need to take back our communities. We have a plan to transform TNT, but we need all hands on deck. Tonight I call on everyone. Let us unite. Let us work together to get TNT working again. Your support on the ground in our party groups at the planning table is what will make the UNC an unstoppable force in the upcoming elections. Deputy Leader Jillian John shared with you, as she told you, let the black woman deal with the black man. You all happy with that? But I want to tell Deputy Leader Jillian John, she could deal with any man, any woman, and any child. We thank her. As our sister, we thank her for her strength. She has done a tremendous job up in La Hoqueta, Talparo, bringing everyone home. And that is why I've asked Jillian John to head our team for the East-West Corridor movement, to spearhead the East-West Corridor movement. Tonight, the UNC is a party for all of TNT. The principles guiding us, safety and security of our families, opportunities for all, empowerment through education and skills development, integrity and good governance. These are the principles that inspire us to work together to help build a better future for our country. We may have made some mistakes along the way. I have apologized, I will continue to apologize for those, but I'll tell you this, I have learned a lot. I have learned a lot. have learned a lot. And you know, they say those who don't learn from the mistakes of the past, you are doomed to repeat them. And one thing I have learned very clearly is that we cannot build our country unless we marry the young people with their innovation and their brightness and sprightliness and strength with the experience of the not so young ones. And so I'm opening all doorways into the UNC. I've said there will be no coalition. We are UNC and we are proud. And therefore the way forward is to step up, stand up, join the UNC, let us work together. We cannot have 10 and 15 different little parties and everyone feel he's the leader or she's the leader. There is one party, there is one leader, and there will be one government, the government of the UNC. And I tell you, all who vex, lost. All who vex, lost. You're going to be, raise your hand. Raise your hand. Raise your hand. Raise your hand. With this hand and with this finger, you have the power to put a government in office, but you also have the power to move a government out of office. You have the power. And as Archbishop Barbara Burke always tells us, my mother, Archbishop, bring down the power. Now is the time. Bring down the power of the UNC and let's get TNT working again. God bless you. God bless you, and I thank you very much. Thank you.